Hello there! My name is Daniel, I'm a game developer, and last month I've created a game for the Wowie game drum 3.0, hosted by game dev and YouTuber Jonas Tarola. At the 26th of February, Jonas announced the theme for the jam, and it was "Failure is Progress." And this time the theme came with a subtitle: "Let's mess with the concept of winning and losing." After I knew the theme, I picked up my notebook and wrote down a few game ideas that fit in the theme or the subtitle or both. In total I came up with 5 ideas. Here are my 2 best of these. I had an idea where you control a little shadow creature and your enemies are light creatures. By taking damage you increase your score. Failing, in our case taking damage, means progress on the score. Then my other one of the 2 best is this one. It's a 2D cartoony looking puzzle game. The movement is grid based and dying unlocks new skills. I went with this idea, but I rethought the point of the game. I kept the 2D cartoony puzzle game idea and that the movement is grid based, but I throw this dying unlocks new skills idea away. Now the player character wants to die and you have to take damage through spikes. By having 0 health, so you die, you move on to the next level. I really liked this game idea and I definitely wanted to go with this idea, even if this can be a failure at the end. After I decided what idea to choose, I jumped into Unity and began to get cracking. My first thing to do was to get the movement working. It was the first time ever that I made a grid-based movement. To challenge myself, I want to create the movement completely without any YouTube tutorials or books. I had definitely enough programming knowledge to create this, and it turned out pretty good. One single bug is that you can move without having a tile to stand on, so let's fix this pretty quick.
2,000 years later.
Okay, now it works fine. I simply created 4 little circles around the player. These circles check if there is a tile or not. This works exactly like I did the ground check in my tutorial for making a responsive 2D platformer movement. Link down in the description or in this card. So with these things fixed, I closed Unity and jumped into Photoshop and created first the player character. Very simple, just legs, a head, and so cute eyes. Then I created a very simple tiles more, so that there is a bit of variation. And last but not least, for this first day, I drew a background and a border. Everything I had at the time I slapped into Unity. Things like the tiles and the border I had to colorize, then in Unity. That's because I drew them originally in just white, so I can easily change colors in Unity. When I finished doing this, I rigged up my player character and then made 2 animations, an idle and a jump. Why jump, you might ask? That's so because I wanted to let the character to jump from tile to tile and not simply walking or something. For the animations I set easy rules. Every body part moves a bit in every animation, and for a squishy feeling I wanted to use a lot of squash and stretch. But don't worry, I didn't overdid it, because that would make the animations awful. That's everything I did on the first day. Quite nice progress, but now I will hit the bed for good and refreshing sleep. In the morning of the second jam day, I first started to work on a health system and some spikes. The last 2 games I made for game jams had spikes, and I definitely have to make games without them in the future again. Because I did the health system and spikes a lot of times, this wasn't a challenge for me to program. After I programmed these both things, I created graphics for this. So in Photoshop I made a simple spike and an empty and full heart. I replaced the sprites with the placeholder ones and it looks cool now. I added a simple underlay behind the health UI that it doesn't blend in with the gameplay. Because I wanted to change the visuals a bit, I added some post-processing. Simple, a bit of bloom, gain and chromatic aberration helped to let the game look much nicer. In my opinion, if you use post-processing correct, it let your game look so much better. Using it right means don't overdo it. Then another graphical addition was the background elements and a few clouds. Like in my game Planet Runner, I added a screen wrapping behavior to the clouds, so they are not gone forever once they left the screen. I also made a squashing and stretching animation to the clouds so that they feel more alive, like in my game Planet Runner 2. For the background elements I made some abstract shapes and floating tiles. And for the floating tiles in the background I made a floating animation. Now the scene looks really alive just with a few graphics and nice techniques. So let's make some levels. I made the first 2 levels and then I realized that I need a few more elements to make great puzzles. So I added a health item. It can be good, but in most cases it's not like usual in games useful. The health item is like an obstacle to avoid, because your goal is to die in this game. It wasn't very hard to program this feature. Everything I had to do is duplicating the damage function and simply replace a minus with a plus sign. And then I only had to call it from somewhere. Then, like always, I had to replace the placeholder graphic with my newly made health item graphic. Then I stayed in Photoshop and directly created sprites for broken tiles. Here several types too, for a bit of variation. I brought them straight into Unity and programmed the tiles. Then I have added a simple break animation when it breaks. After this I thought my game is so silent, so I decided to add some sounds and music. For my music I used my all-time favorite tool called Accurate Music. Most of my game's soundtracks are made with Accurate Music Maker. Accurate Music is a website where you can generate soundtracks with. It's a really easy to use AI. To use it, you have to spend a few bucks, but it's definitely worth it when you do a lot of game jams like I do. Here's the track. Enjoy. My second AI or tool of choice is usefull. I use it quite often for my drum games. It does the almost same thing. It generates sound effects. This is completely free if you want to know. I put a few useful tools to create your games in the description, paid and free ones. Now I have a nice collection of sound effects, so let's implement them. My workflow for this isn't much interesting. I only add a few lines of code, so let's quickly skip this. After I added sounds to the game, it sounds like this. So now I will hit the bed again and have another refreshing sleep. On Sunday, so the last complete day, I finally had to build levels. At 3 p.m. I finished making levels and I ended up with 10 levels. Then I quickly made a cool main menu, an end screen and a stylish splash screen. I made some hyperlink buttons where I can get to my YouTube channel and play some more games made by me. Then I added a restart mechanic and a main menu button. The last thing I added was a custom cursor. I drew very fast in Photoshop. In the evening I uploaded and submitted my game under the name I wanted to. Hope you enjoyed this video. You can play the game with the link in the description. Also you can subscribe, give feedback in the comments and join the official Ryder Studios Game Dev Discord server as usual. See you in the next video. Bye.